If I were the devil, the one they whisper about, how would I claim all souls in this shiny 21st century? Not with ancient fire or obvious old-fashioned sin. No, my methods would be new. Quiet, unseen, almost polite. This century is ripe, full of dazzling new tools. Tools for connection, they say. I say, tools for isolation. I wouldn't need a pitchfork or horns upon my head, just the gentle tap of a finger on a glowing glass screen. My work wouldn't be sudden, no shocking grand collapse. It would be a slow erosion, a gentle steady dimming of their precious inner light until only shadows danced. They do it mostly themselves, you see. I'd just offer a gentle nudge. And the truly clever part? They'd call it progress. They'd name it innovation. They'd embrace the very chains I'd use to bind them, to pull them slowly apart, to hollow out their spirits from the very inside. Yes. First, I'd craft the screens. Bright, alluring little portals in every pocket, in every palm. They would gaze into them, more than into each other's eyes. A constant flickering glow, a constant beckoning hum. Their new, most intimate companion. Then I'd fill these screens with endless trivial chatter, likes, shares, fleeting digital fame. They would chase validation from faces they'd never meet, while real love sat beside them, unseen, unheard, unfelt. Connection would become a ghost. Entertainment would be my symphony, a never-ending performance, movies, games, viral dances, so much to consume so fast, so little time to ponder or to feel anything deeply, or to simply sit and be. Quiet would become their enemy. They'd forget the simple joys, a walk in the Canadian woods, the warmth of a true friend's voice, the deep comfort of shared silence, their attention, a butterfly's flit, their minds, always buzzing elsewhere, never truly anchored, never present. And that's how the unraveling would begin. Next, I'd cloud the truth, like mud stirred in clear water, until they couldn't see an inch. Before their very own noses, I'd whisper clever falsehoods, dressed in the robes of reason, so appealing, so easy to believe, and easier still to share. Information would gush like a geyser, a relentless, overwhelming flood, but much of it, my special brew, poison disguised as knowledge, packaged as breaking news, as science, as advice from a friend. They'd click, they'd spread, my work, my little unknowing messengers. I would make them doubt everything, their trusted institutions, their neighbors, the evidence of their own eyes. What is real, what is fabricated? The lines would blur, then vanish. Confusion would be their daily bread, and in confusion fear takes root. Oh, how I do love fertile fear. Experts, voices of experience, I'd paint them as old, out of touch, or part of some grand conspiracy. Critical thought, a tiresome chore. I'd bury it under endless sensation. They'd cling to what felt comfortable, not what was demonstrably true. My truth would be easier, always. Then I'd take their vibrant colors, the beautiful mosaic of humanity, and I'd teach them to see only lines, lines that divide, lines that separate, skin color, political banners, ancient beliefs, new grievances, anything at all, to turn neighbor against neighbor. I'd encourage them to shout louder, and to listen, not at all, to build high, impenetrable walls instead of sturdy, welcoming bridges, us versus them. A simple slogan, the rallying cry of my new world. Echo chambers would be their cathedrals, amplifying only their own righteous anger. Communities would start to fray, like old neglected tapestries. Families would argue at dinner tables. The very bonds of their society would loosen, then snap, one by one. They'd see enemies in familiar faces, traitors in those who disagreed. Trust would become a forgotten word. I wouldn't need grand armies or declarations of open war. Just a million tiny skirmishes, fought with keyboards and harsh words in their homes, in their hearts. Divided they would stumble, divided they would fall, and I would be there to catch them. I'd dangle before their weary eyes the shiniest of worldly baubles. New possessions, higher status, the latest phone, the biggest car. I'd whisper, this is happiness. This is what you truly deserve. And they'd chase these fleeting things with all their might, all their days. Fame would be another golden lure. To be known, to be seen, admired, even for the most trivial of reasons. They'd crave the intoxicating spotlight, the roar of the anonymous crowd, believing it would fill that ache, that gnawing emptiness deep inside, but it would only carve it deeper. Pleasure, brief and superficial, that would be my common currency. Quick thrills, easy comforts, instant gratification on demand. They'd hop from one sensation to the next, and the next, never pausing to truly ask, what gives life its real flavor? And as they gathered more things, more followers, more fleeting highs, they'd find themselves curiously poorer, more isolated, more unfulfilled. The relentless pursuit of more would leave them with so much less peace, less genuine joy, less soul, a truly exquisite, devilish irony. While they chased these empty phantoms, I'd get to work on their inner worlds, so quietly, so subtly. From within, I'd plant tiny seeds of anxiety, little worries that would sprout and grow into towering, shadowy forests of fear. About their future, about their value, about simply getting through the day. Depression would be a heavy gray cloak, draped slowly over their shoulders, numbing their capacity for joy, stealing their vital spark of energy, making even simple tasks feel like climbing a mountain of glass. And many would suffer this in silence, too ashamed, too afraid to speak. Loneliness would be my quiet masterpiece. In a world priding itself on connection, through wires, through invisible waves, they would feel profoundly, terribly alone, surrounded by a sea of faces on screens, yet starving for a genuine human touch, a real embrace, an understanding heart, a look that says, I see you. This invisible erosion of the spirit, this silent crumbling of their minds, it would be utterly devastating, more crippling than any visible wound. For what is a person without inner peace, without a glimmer of sustaining hope, just an empty, fragile shell? And shells, you know, are so very easy to crush. And for my grand concluding act, I'd turn my gaze to their leaders, those entrusted with guiding the flock. I'd whisper in their ears too, of course, sweet promises of greater power, endless riches, unquestioned control. I'd help them forget the people, the ones they solemnly vowed to serve. Trust in the systems that bind them would slowly, surely disintegrate, as people witness self-interest where selfless service ought to be. Cynicism would bloom like a dark flower, a pervasive, weary belief that everyone is only out for themselves, that nothing good can ever truly last. They'd search desperately for saviors, for strong voices, for charismatic figures, promising easy fixes, simple solutions, not realizing, poor souls, that these might be my most polished creations, leading them ever further from the light, further into the welcoming darkness. I'd so carefully, patiently prepared, so, you see, the real adversary, the one to truly be wary of, it wouldn't arrive with a roar or with horns and a fiery pitchfork. It would be in the harmless click, the seductive swipe of a screen, the comforting allure of an easy answer, hidden in plain sight, in their daily lives. And that, my friends, is how I'd win. And that is the rest of the story.